very much for that. We'll have the Swiggy rate come up as well. So 65 points in the Nifty is what the index is opening up. At least the pre-open showed us. What do we have? I think it's 40 to begin with. So 23,740 on the Nifty. The Nifty Bank is up about 75, 50,400 plus. And the IT index is up about 1%. So it's a strong start, that Cognizant rub off or whatever you want to call it. And advanced decline is pretty solid as well. But we're just opening up, so keep that in mind. And many more stocks, etc., starting higher at this point in time. The Nifty heat map will come up on your screen, gives you a quick sense of how at least the larger ones are opening up. Mid-cap index a quarter. I think the small-cap index I saw about 0.2% or so as well. Remember, the small-cap index, of course, caught up with large caps. While the large caps took a bit of a break, the small-cap index was up almost about 1.7, 1.8% higher yesterday. So those are first trades coming up right now. Surabhi.
Looking at Swiggy, completely take Mangalam's point on the positives, but the thing is the market's just looking at the loss, and that loss has increased quarter on quarter, year on year, and that pain is still playing out on the stock. Let's see if buyers come in at some point in time, but the bottom line is that there's a loss, and the loss is increasing instead of diminishing, which means there's something happening with the business, competitive intensity, investing more in quick commerce, whatever it is. Market's not too comfortable with it right now. That's the stock of the morning. Let's quickly move on. On the Nifty, gainers include some financials and some tech. So Bajaj Finance 1.5%. There's SBI ahead of numbers about 0.5%, which is up and about. There is tech in the form of Wipro, which is doing very well. Infosys, Tech Mahindra, TCS. It seems Cognizant read-through for tech seems to be fairly optimistic. Most of these stocks are seeing some early buying. Dr. Reddy's, Tata Motors, Hero Moto ahead of numbers, by the way, also about 0.5% higher. And then some of the consumer names are recovering as well. I can see Lever about 0.5% higher to begin with. Asian Paints, after the huge drubbing it's got this week, trying to now find some stability as well. On the lower side, Trent is still down, by the way. ITC is also a little cautious ahead of numbers. Then there's the Britannia, again, little bit of a red on that screen as well. So it's a little all over the place. Trends are not very clear. Bank Nifty is flat, so is the Nifty. Probably best to be with individual stocks.
Well, that's right. And just take a look at a few of these names, Surabhi. VRL Logistics, the stock is up close to around 16%. The margins have come in at around 20%. That's the highest I've seen in multiple quarters, just plotting a chart out there. From around 12-13%, it's gone to around 20%. I don't know whether there's a couple of one-offs there, but the street likes it. It's up close to 16%. Aarti Pharma, that's the other stock that I'm looking at. Big up move is what we're seeing on that stock. And out there as well, the margins at multi-quarter high. It's coming at around 24% in comparison to the 20, the 17, 23% that I've seen in the last 8 to around 9 quarters. So this is the highest margin that we've seen. I think that's why the street is, appreciating those set of numbers. Avalon Tech, we had made this point early this morning that in fact the stock has corrected 30% from the top. Valuation-wise, it's trading at 50 times, which is not very, very cheap, but at least it's cheaper than what we saw at the peak. And the margins came in at multi-quarter highs. So that's why that stock as well is up and about in today's trading session. Welspun Corp is more or less flattish. Those numbers are good. In the next 50 minutes or so, we'll have the, the analyst call. So we'll have to hear out what they have to say out there. And I think a few of these names like DigiSpice Technologies, I think Reliance Infra, they are moving up because there's a circuit change out there. So I think sometimes that helps sentiment. That's why some of these stocks are reacting, I think, to that flex that we have seen on the circuit filter. So keep an eye out on a couple of these names.
Okay, well, I think let's just look at the market at an aggregate level. We're up about 34 points on the Nifty, 23,730. You've got the Nifty Bank, which is up about 120 points. That's basically about 0.25% higher on the indices at this point in time. VRL Logistics, big move. It's at the bottom of the screen. It's a 15% pop coming through on VRL. Maybe just run through all these capital market names, right, which popped higher yesterday. The AMC companies, for example, Nippon India AMC was up 10% yesterday. Angel One, Scams was 10% in the green yesterday. And so many more. I think BSE was another one which has basically seen some recoveries back at about 5,700, 5,740. So, yeah, I mean, after yesterday's moves, I think it's taking it a bit easy this morning. But, I mean, these are still stocks which have done well, very well over the years. Let me take a quick look at a few other names here. AG's Logistics is up about 2.5%. And it was up yesterday as well, so it's a big move, 816. Reliance Power is up 6%, 42 odd on Reliance Power. Very large volumes on this one. Look at Indus Tower. back from the dead in that sense, purely from a stock perspective. 2.5, 370 back on Indus Tower. Slowly, it's starting to come back up as the news flow around Vodafone Idea is improving. There's Azad Engineering. There's that tie-up yesterday. 3%, 3.5%. Again, I mean, from the highs of about 1,900, stock fell quite sharply, back at about 1,500 plus. Hitachi is up about 3% this morning. NetWeb is back up about 3.5%, back to about 1,800 rupee kind of levels. So, yeah, I mean, there's a fair bit, and market breadth is pretty positive as well. 1,500 stocks are higher, and you've got about 600 stocks which are down. Swiggy is the number one volume-led loser right now, although it has come back quite sharply from the lows already. The low on Swiggy this morning is 385, and stocks recover about 15, 16 rupees from the day's low. There is Page Industries, which has fallen about 3% this morning. So Page is sharply down with large volumes. These NBFCs, Shriram Finance and Sundaram Finance, both went up sharply yesterday, and both are pulling back a little bit this morning. All these hospital names went up sharply yesterday. Fortis, Medanta, Max Health, and I think there is a bit of profit booking there as well. I'm not sure what's happening with Exicom, which is a fairly recent listing. Stocks down about 8.5%, 9%, 223 coming through on Exicom as well. So that's the overall picture as far as markets are concerned. There is Naukri, which is InfoEdge, which has suddenly popped up the number 2 spot with volume-led gains. And Naukri is at about 8109 on your screens now. And Castrol was a big mover yesterday. It didn't start higher this morning, but it's 2.5 higher. It's got volumes as well. And I think Kansai, Mangalam was talking about Kansai earlier. It started lower. I think it had a bit of a move, and now it's up about 3.6, 3.7% or so. So that's the overall picture on the market with stocks, etc. Nifty has got about 15 points to show for all which has happened, but it's just the first 5 minutes of open that we are looking at.
I was looking at Page Industries. Now, for Page Industries, the issue is that I think the volume growth, which was around 4.5%, the momentum has kind of waned again in the third quarter, and that's what the market didn't like. They had a decent Q2, but Q3 it seems that with the the bulk of the festive season impact out, perhaps that revenue growth number of around 7% is not in line with the market's expectations, and therefore there was some selling that came in yesterday. But let's talk about stocks that have actually